Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazukas, and I've mentioned in the past that I was previewed in another YouTuber's reaction video. And I had mentioned in that video that I don't usually do a response to those videos. Somebody on Discord actually messaged me and asked me if I was the Plazukas that got reviewed by Tectone. And then I went and searched and found that Tectone reacted to my video. I can't, in good conscience, not react to this video. Now, full disclosure, I've already watched the entire reaction to Tectone reacting to my video. And here's what I will say off the top. I respect him for not overly using his audience and his leverage that he has as a content creator adjacent to Asmongold to make it worse than it could have been, especially knowing Tectone's videos and Asmongold's videos and how they can really dial it up to 100. So I give respect to Tectone for showing some reservation. Even at the end, he obviously says that I am mentally ill. And let's be very clear, we're all mentally ill. And do I suffer from mental illness? Of course. I have a hard life in some areas of my day. But regardless of that, this is not a conspiracy theory. Nothing I said in that video, although hyperbolic, although meant to target the algorithm, which, let's be very clear, that is exactly my intention. I recently posted a video about my Stellar Blade review, and I basically said that I'm changing my content. This is a byproduct of that. That doesn't mean that I am insincere. I'm very serious about this topic. I'm very serious about video games. And I'm so serious about video games that I would be considered someone that is irresponsible, right? That I spend too much time playing video games. That it's too much of my life, almost like an addiction. And I admit that. And it would do me well to use that and try to profit from it and become a content creator because I'm already spending this much time, so I might as well maximize my potential. But I can't do that because I love video games too much to dilute them, to sell out, essentially. Even though I could, I have the capability. I'm not saying that's who Tectone is. And I can't speak for any content creator. That's why I was being generalized. And I know Tectone in the video wants me to answer or say who I'm actually talking about. Because he makes it very clear that he doesn't know anybody that is dealing with a situation that I described. I don't know what the truth is in that. I don't know what his truth is. I don't know if he knows everything about their deals or what they do or do not receive. As far as I understand MTashed, and I'm not using MTashed as a content creator who I am calling out, but he is within that same network of Asmongold now. I think Asmongold and his company hired MTashed as one of his business partners. Tectone is part of that as well, and they cover a lot of the Gacha style games. I don't know what their deals are. I know how much content they produce. I know how many games they go through. I know Asmongold used to be a World of Warcraft streamer and then changed to a more reactionary content creator. And now he plays other video games, variety streaming, and stuff like that. And I used to watch Asmongold for a very long time. I didn't watch him during World of Warcraft, but I watched him when he did a lot of his variety streams, and I did enjoy his content, and he has some really great takes. Tectone and MTash I watch less of, And then there's obviously other people that I watch, you know, sporadically. I'm familiar with video games. Am I familiar with the business side of video games entirely? No. Obviously, Asmongold, Tectone, MTash are very successful individuals who can speak to the ins and outs of the business. And they navigate it successfully. And that is the American dream. I just don't think that video games need to be at every single area used to dilute it. You know, we already have big corporations that are minimizing creativity. We have layoffs in the industry. We have games that are being hacked and exploited and modded for their original vision. Then we have content creators or reviewers or all these other people that are just using video games because it's one of the most successful genres in the entire industry for their personal gain. And on principle, that's a problem to me. And although I'm a YouTube content creator per se, I don't want to make $1 million. I don't even want to make $100,000. I don't know what I want to do for YouTube or if I actually do want to make a living. But if that is the future, it would only be to sustain myself. Not to engorge myself, not to enrich myself. Does that make me a bit of a socialist, even though I'm an American? Maybe. Maybe I'm not a capitalist. Maybe I'm not an opportunist. Is that a problem? Sure. To some, it is, because I'm not taking full advantage of all my opportunities and all my potential. But I don't think you have to. I don't think that's required. My own personal belief. We are going to go through this now, this video. Again, I've already watched it one time. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the ins and outs of what I said. I'm going to focus on what Tectone said, even though I kind of generalized it here.
So this guy has an issue with free-to-play content creators. They're not your friends and are more like Bobby Kotick. Number 1 rule of the internet: never trust a bald guy. Number 2, if you're...
Okay, so first of all right, and obviously from one bald person to another, you can't trust anybody. Okay? Because if we are now looking at people and choosing whether we can trust them or not, that's part of the problem. You can't tell a snake from an angel, if even an angel is a good person nowadays. Who knows? The whole thing has been twisted upside down. So whether I be bald or have Goldilocks blonde hair that goes down to my buttocks, Fabio style, you can't trust anybody.
bald, you have to have a beard. You have to. Bald and shaved looks crazy.
Okay, I did freshly shave my face. 2 things. I never liked growing a beard. And secondly, I served in the military for 8.5 years, and that's not me trying to get any kind of accolades or, you know, attention. I'm used to shaving. Become a regular daily ritual. But I've never known what I would look if I had a shaved, groomed beard. But I am getting older. It's possible.
All right,
And Walter White, who I love Breaking Bad, did look more like a man when he did shave his, or when he had a beard. So maybe I will. Who knows? To be continued.
do look crazy. I don't think this guy looks too bad with it, actually. But generally, bald and shaved goes insane. Now, I'm a free-to-play content creator. I like showing off this style of play. But I am curious why this guy has an issue with free-to-play content creators. Let's see here real quick. Let's see what's going on.
My name is Plazukas, and today's video is going to be on Withering Waves, but a more broader...
Why does everybody say Wuthering Waves wrong? Is it really that hard to just say Wuthering Waves? Am I insane?
topic about content creation. I think this is accents. Maybe it's my accent from where I'm located and his accent where he's located, as to why I say wither and waves the way I do, and Tectone says it his way. In general.
Okay. Now, I am very curious why a guy with 100 subs thinks he knows a lot about content creation. And I feel like this is a very out of touch take. It's kind of like when a
Okay, so this doesn't matter, right? I admit that Tectone knows the ins and outs of a business better than I do. Asmin Gold, Tash know the business ins and outs better than I do. But it doesn't mean that somebody with 124 subs doesn't know anything. That's a very elitist take.
third grader who plays basketball tries to tell LeBron James how to do his job.
I mean, let's be very clear. Technically, a third grader probably has better technique than LeBron. So a third grader could teach LeBron some things that maybe LeBron has lost over the years because he's adapted his style. Now, I can't speak to basketball because I'm not really a sports guy. I've never really played sports. Video games have been my hobby. I'm not really athletically inclined.
It's just kind of like, okay, well, what are your credentials? Because I am curious what this.
Sure. If we want to talk about credentials, based on video games, I've just played video games my entire life. I've seen them evolve. I've been playing since I was 5, 6. I played the Atari back when it first released. My uncle had it. Went to his house. I played Pitfall. I've played Galaga. I've played the old. Trying to think what it's called now. Anyway, I've played a lot of video games in my entire life. That is the only thing I have. I don't have anything else.
Guy thinks, but yeah, let's go for it, man.
I've been meaning to make a video like this for a very long time. I think the increase in content creation over the past 5 to 10 years has seen a trend to where corporations can now leverage content
Product. What does that even mean?
in a way that is very appetizing, in a way that's very pleasing, and it's in a way that is very.
Is that there's a new wave of contracts that are rolling out for current content creators in the space that make it seem like it's very appetizing and very worthwhile for you to do. When in reality, the only reason why you think that is because you don't know your worth. And generally, you get swindled by corporations to push products that you otherwise wouldn't if you weren't monetarily incentivized. But even still, that monetary incentivization is lower than you actually should be receiving. Hopefully,
So I know Asmongold previously has talked about essentially making these new creative programs that he's having, or creating, to ensure that this doesn't happen. So just like in the music business, just like in the movie business, just like in indie industry, just like in the world, people are taken advantage of and swindled all the time. So I am absolutely confident that this happens, where they don't know their worth, so therefore they get taken advantage of. Tectone's not going to get taken advantage of. Asmongold's not going to get taken advantage of. Tash is not going to get taken advantage of, because they do know their worth. And they don't actually need companies now to leverage their income. They have the subscribers. They have the merch. They have the businesses that they've gained because of their success and their profitability. But they are very few in select individuals, where most people have to do these contracts, have to do these incentive programs with corporations and companies to make a living. I can't speak to what those contracts look like. And I'm sure there are plenty of content creators who leverage themselves by pulling on Gacha and don't get it all back, hoping their videos will essentially make up for it or whatever. But to dismiss this entirely, to suggest that this does not happen, I'm sorry. I think that comes, if you're going to talk about my, inexperience, I'm going to talk about your arrogance, your elitism. I don't think you can accurately understand the industry entirely at your level anymore, Tectone. To some degree. Now, I understand that we all come from a place. You know, we've all had hardships in our lives. I'm sure that Tectone has had his fair share. Not to speak personally, I don't know his back history or whatever else. Most of us don't come from wealth. People had to grind and make their living, and so they have that path and that story that creates their personality, that creates who they are. So I'm sure Tectone has that as a way to inform him. But I'm going to stand by my statement. It's not conspiratorial. It does happen in the industry. And let's just say these video content creators do pull on this, and then a month later they get sponsored by this company. That in itself is them paying for Gacha. That is them eventually getting their comeuppance, their dues. I'm going to speak later about Tectone's thing about, should we do this for free? This is always the response that now content creators or people just in general feel. And of course not. Obviously, I want people to get paid for their work. I want people to be supported. And I think Tectone is supported by his community. That should be the only support that he needs. But then again, now this is going to sound conspiratorial because I've been called out. If you're trying to make all the money, if you're trying to make money based off your subscribers, then you want to do merch deals, then you want to do sponsor deals, then you want to do business deals. And you're like, well, isn't that just good business? Isn't that just me taking advantage of what I have to offer or what's available to me? Of course it is. That's no different than Bobby Kotick. And therefore, my video is accurate.
I translated that well.
For those who play Wither and Waves and who do it free to play, or for those who pull on the Gacha and then get basically reimbursed.
That one, okay? Okay, I'm gonna need bro to explain that one, okay? I'm also going to let you guys know that despite this guy being bald and wearing glasses and getting the intellect buff, I would like to tell you that companies directly recompensating you for the pulls that you do in game is something that hasn't even been offered to creators like Asmongold with some of the biggest, highest concurrent viewership on the entire platform. That's something that they don't do. They usually give you a stipend to spend. It's very low. The highest I've ever gotten for a stipend for wishing was $500.
Okay, so here's some self-admittance that it does happen. We also know that there are companies now that are able to leverage their gacha for different accounts. Some accounts will get better percentages for their gacha. There is ways to do that in the game. They can, I don't know if it's exclusive to certain individuals, but they can real time change this data because there's not any overseeing agency that's going to essentially hold them accountable. And even if they do, it'd probably just be a fine, and the fine would be lower than what they could receive by people getting frustrated with the gacha and just continue to pull and trying for a unit. So there's a lot in this industry that is very shady. So just using, I think, Tectone's personal example, and then speaking for Asmongold about stipends or getting kind of reimbursed. Sure. Was I being hyperbolic when I said that essentially these people are getting reimbursed completely for their wishes or their goals? Maybe. Maybe they don't get 100%, okay? And that's fine. But to suggest that they don't get any kind of compensation or any kind of monetization or monetary gain or in the sense of content creator programs, gems to pull on them for free, I think that's a bit misleading and misguided. And just because I have glasses and I'm bald, admittedly, I know perception-wise, it gives me the intellectual buff, and I do feel like I am above average intelligence. Again, you can't judge a book by its cover.
That is my highest stipend I have ever received in any contract I've ever done, and that was an oddity. Before that, I'm not even kidding you, it was like $100 or maybe even $50 worth of polls. I would like to say this for whale content creators like, Fob. They're doing this shit legitimately. Almost no companies that I'm aware of, and especially I can speak from the Hoyoverse community and experience as well as Kuro Games, none of them are offering to pay you back for 100% of what you pay in the game. It's pretty much pennies, I'm not gonna lie.
So, admittedly, I know that companies in general in the world don't want to pay anybody anything. So do I admit that probably it is pennies to the dollar potentially? Sure. They'll go with whatever they could get away with as far as leveraging their brand with these content creators and publicity. So if they don't have to pay them, they won't. But as time goes on, and as the industry standard shifts, these content creators are going to be more valuable to these companies. Unless, of course, there's another shift, which there could be. But right now, we see content creation as one of the most viable options for marketing, at least in my opinion. And these companies are going to leverage content creators to the extent that they can, and they will pay them. They will pay them. Tectone will get a payout. Asmongold will get a payout if the shift continues, if they allow for it, which they may not, because they may not take that extra profit. To their credit, they may be fine with their subscriber accounts and their merch or whatever else they're doing for their businesses. And that would ruin their brand as well, because then they couldn't be free to play. They couldn't have this moniker, which would then reduce their overall visibility or their ability to talk about certain things that they want to talk about. Like I know Asmongold does sponsor streams for Honkai Star Rail. But as far as Tectone goes, and I know Tectone has spent money on Gacha as well. But this whole free-to-play wave, specifically with Wuthering Waves, is, let's be clear, quite insincere. Games do not make themselves.
Okay.
Free-to-play games are not cheap to me. These games are...
Kuro Games and Hoyoverse are pretty non-interruptive when it comes to offering the players packages to purchase. Whereas other games like Raid Shadow Legends, even Cookie Run Kingdom, one of my favorite games, the moment you log in, you will see a pop-up for $1.99, get 100 summons. And if you click that, then you're going to see another package for $100 for another 300 summons.
Yeah.
So it's pretty non-intrusive for all of the monetization model. That's very fair.
I appreciate that. And that is true. I play a lot of gacha, and many gachas really do advertise and just throw all the monetization schemes in your face. And the benefit, specifically to Honkai and to Wither Waves, is that it doesn't. It's very discreet, and I appreciate that, which makes me want to support them even more, even though I know Honkai is so successful. I really do appreciate that, and I hope more companies use that that specific model rather than some of the other companies just overly monetizing. And I'm not here trying to belittle anybody that is playing this game.
Oh my God! Here we go.
We got a what's this grade?
Kimberly calculated from the beginning. How do I?
I'm having fun free to play
Okay.
on Kardashians, huh? This is specifically directed at content creators.
Okay.
Who play, who advertise.
From 10 to 12 and May 23rd from 10 to 12 p.m. CST. That was fully disclosed, and also 100% of the revenue I received from the sponsors, I also gave all of that back to my chat in the form of giveaways.